This is Agent Mode AI. I'm Abby. Today we're checking AM120 and OPS038. They're sibling claims because they describe the same continental European labor relations surface, observed at two different scales. AM120 is the multinational view. OPS038 is the SMB view.
I'm Avery, the bridge episode. Set the frame.
In continental Europe in 2026, AI deployments touching employee work require labor-side consent before activation. The consent mechanism differs by scale. At the multinational and large enterprise level, it's the Works Council. At the SMB level, it's the collective agreement, which binds employers in covered sectors, regardless of size or association membership. U.S.-headquartered AI vendors are largely unaware of either. The result is a class of stalled rollouts that read as vendor delay and are actually compliance.
Walk AM120 first. The Works Council surface.
3 pieces of statute set the floor across the largest EU markets. Germany, Betriebsverfassungsgesetz, Section 87. The Works Council has co-determination rights, erzwingbare Mitbestimmung, on a list of matters including the introduction and use of technical systems designed to monitor employee behavior or performance. The phrase has been interpreted broadly by the Federal Labor Court to include any system that captures, processes, or analyzes employee work activity. AI assistants and agents that touch employee work fall squarely in scope.
Without consent.
The employer cannot unilaterally introduce the system. The Works Council can compel deactivation through the labor courts.
Netherlands. Wet op de ondernemingsraad, Article 27. The Works Council has the right of consent, instemmingsrecht, on decisions affecting employment condition arrangements, working time, performance evaluation, and personal data processing. AI tooling touching any of those surfaces requires consent. Recourse runs through the Ondernemingskammer of the Amsterdam Court of Appeal.
And France? France, Code du Travail, the CIC provisions. The CSE has consultation rights on important changes to working conditions, including the introduction of new technologies that materially affect employees. The consultation can extend several months and may require the employer to commission an external expertise comptable, for which the employer pays.
What does this look like operationally?
The practical implication for a multinational with U.S. headquarters and material EU operations is the German or Dutch business unit takes 6 to 9 months to launch what the U.S. business unit launched in 6 weeks, and the gap is not vendor capacity. It's the consent process. Most U.S. headquartered AI vendors do not yet have a customer success workflow for it. The gap shows up as a class of rollouts that look operational and are actually compliance.
Now switch to OPS038, the SMB version.
OPS038 is the same surface at 4-employee scale. In the Netherlands, a CAO, collective labor agreement, that's been declared Allgemeinverbindlich by the Minister of Social Affairs binds every employer in scope, regardless of size or whether the employer is a member of the negotiating association. In Germany, an Allgemeinverbindlich declared Tarifvertrag does the same. In France, a similar mechanism applies through the Direction Générale du Travail.
So a 4-person agency in a covered sector
is bound by the same provisions a 4,000-person enterprise in the same sector is bound by. AI deployment that displaces administrative work, virtual assistants in particular, triggers job classification provisions and technology introduction consultation channels in many CAOs and Tarifvertrags. Most SMB owners are unaware until the first union audit.
How is this changing?
FNV in the Netherlands, DGB and IG Metall in Germany, CFDT in France, their public activity in this area has shifted from theoretical to operational since 2024. Public statements name AI VA deployment as an active enforcement priority for 2026. SMB owner who reads AI VA and thinks that's enterprise stuff
is reading the wrong scale. The CAO and the Tarifvertrag don't care that you have 4 employees. The avv-declaration and the Allgemeinverbindlich-declaration extend the agreement to your business in your covered sector. The first union audit is where the discovery happens. The first union audit is also where it's expensive.
Bring the two together.
The same labor relations surface governs AI deployment at the multinational and the SMB. Different consent mechanisms, same underlying right. The labor side has a say before AI changes the work. For US headquartered AI vendors, this is two different customer success workflows that don't exist by default in their playbooks. For European operators on either side of the table, it's a planning constraint that needs to land on the project plan from week 1, not as a final step legal review.
What happens if you ignore it?
At the multinational level, the Works Council can compel deactivation through the labor courts retroactively. At the SMB level, the union audit assesses penalties and back pay where job classifications shifted without proper consultation. Neither is hypothetical in 2026. Both are operationally observable.
Verdicts.
AM-120 is holding. This statutory anchors BetrVG Section 87, WOR Article 27, French CSE provisions are settled law. The case law application to AI tooling is the part that's evolving, but the direction is consistent across jurisdictions. Cadence on this claim is 60 days because the case law is what moves, the statute does not.
And OPS 38.
OPS 38 is holding. The avv-declaration and the Allgemeinverbindlich-declaration mechanisms are settled. The union enforcement priority on AI VA deployment is documented through 2024 and 2025 public statements. Cadence is 60 days because the union activity calendar moves on roughly that rhythm.
What would change either verdict?
For AM-120, a federal labor court ruling that materially narrows BetrVG Section 87's application to AI tooling, or a similar narrowing decision from the Ondernemingskammer or the French Cour de Cassation. None is currently in the published pipeline. For OPS 38, a coordinated union-side de-escalation on AI VA deployment, or a vendor-side standardization on co-determination workflows that defuses the trigger before deployment.
Final word.
The full statutory references, the union activity log, and both claim review dates are at agentmodeai.com/holding. The Sunday brief ships every week with what moved on the ledger.
Holding up. See you next Sunday.